And this afternoon, the Public Accounts Interest and Accountability Committee, PIAC, is demanding answers on why $100.7 million was not paid into the Petroleum Holding Funds as required by law. The amounts actually relate to some over 944,000 barrels of crude liftings that were made by JOHL, a subsidiary of the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation that actually holds about 7% of interest in our Jubilee and 10 oil fields on behalf of the state. Now, the stake was acquired into 2021 from Anadako. PIAC, a state watchdog over management and utilization of our petroleum revenue, however, indicates that the crude lifting proceeds, the first by JOHL, were made, but the payments were not made into the Petroleum Holding Fund, contrary to the Petroleum Revenue Management Act. And of course, following the acquisition of the 7% interest in the 10 and Jubilee fields by JNPC in 2021, we later ceded that to our subsidiary JOHL and made our first lifting. However, some payments have not been made. And this was part of the issues that came up when the 8-member ad hoc committee sat today to hear from some of the officials of PIAC. We can now cross over to Parliament to get more on what's happening. For now, the committee is on a little break, but Kweku Asante, our parliamentary correspondent, is there for us monitoring events. Kweku, let's start off with where, of course, the majority began to raise questions about the reports itself. First of all, asking, and we just heard from the chair of the Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee, indicating that the process is not conclusive. That's the note on which he started. Why is he having some challenges accepting this 2021 report as being conclusive?
So, Blessed, to start with, this particular allegation and this particular issue relates to ground 3 of the NDC minorities' censure motion against Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta. Let me read it to you. It says, illegal payment of oil revenues into offshore accounts in flagrant violation of Article 176 of the 1992 Constitution. And that was anchored on a report that was authored by the Public Interest and Accountability Committee, like you rightly said. And so Tuesday actually, Dr. Kesela Tuforsin and the minority leader Haruna Iddrisu led evidence to back these claims. It was then that the committee decided that both PIAC and GNPC should be invited to appear before the committee to provide some answers before ultimately Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta appears. So today you've heard the Nasser Alpha Mohammed, who is the vice president of PIAC, defending their report, which said that over $100 million of money that belongs to the state, which belongs in terms of the ownership to GMPC's subsidiary, the Jubilee Oil Holding Limited, the JOHL, they lifted some oil and they were supposed to pay this amount of money into the Petroleum Holding Fund, but did not do so. They paid it into the account of the company, which is not in Ghana, which is offshore. The minority say this is in flagrant violation of the Petroleum Revenue Management Act as well as the 1992 Constitution, like I told you over there. This is a position PIAC actually accedes to. And actually, like I said, this minority ground is anchored on this report from PIAC. And so some questionings have been asked of Alpha Mohammed, particularly from the New Patriotic Party side. We first heard from Andrew Ejapamesa, who sought to question that the rightful place of those funds were first supposed to be lodged into the account of this company, which is a subsidiary of GNPC, before onward disbursement to the Petroleum Holding Fund. This is not a position that the minority agree with. This is also not a position that PIAC agrees with. They say that by law, all such amounts of money must first be put in the Petroleum Holding Fund before any disbursement can be made. And so that has been the sticking point at today's committee meeting, where both sides have been making forceful arguments as to which side they think is the accurate. We've heard from Patrick Boama, we've heard from Andrew Ejapamesa, who've been leading the majority NPP onslaught on this recommendation from PIAC. But just like you said, before the committee went on this 1-hour break, we heard from Kwame Anyimedu-Etwi. He's the chairman of the Constitutional and Legal Affairs Committee, and he's been questioning that the PIAC report cannot be said to be conclusive because it first must be submitted to Parliament. Parliament will debate it. Some input will be made before that can be said to be final. Like you would see there, Dr. Dominic Ayine, former Attorney General, the MP for Bolga East, as well as the co-chair of this committee, do not agree, and PIAC also do not agree that the report is not final until Parliament debates or takes a vote on it. So that has been the sticking point and the point of departure in today's sitting.
But what's instructive to note is that PIAC says it stands by these findings and that the report, as it is, in their view, is conclusive.
Indeed, so this indicts the finance minister. We know that the minority have laid their grounds and they are in the process of proving it. PIAC says that the finance minister ought to have ensured that this amount of money from GNPC's subsidiary, JOHL, the Jubilee Oil Holdings Limited, should have first been paid into the Petroleum Revenue Management Act, the holding fund, before disbursement was made to the JOHL. So if the committee holds that this evidence that has been led by GNPC is anything to go by, then at least we can point to one of the 7 grounds that have been made against the finance minister. They say he's guilty. So now we have the minority saying he's guilty. We have the Public Interest and Accountability Committee saying he is guilty. It is up to the committee now to put some weight on this evidence and present a report to the House. But GNPC is expected to appear before the committee when they resume from this 1 hour break. And the indication I have is that they have a completely different understanding of their law. They say that the JOHL, as a subsidiary of the company, could take on these funds, hold them in their account before onward disbursement to the Petroleum Revenue Fund.
Kwekwe parliamentary correspondent, giving us the latest on the 8 ad hoc member committee that's, of course, hearing from PIAC and GNPC, scheduled to appear in the next 20 minutes. We'll still be on the lookout for that.